Mr. Gauthier, would you please give us your full name and DOC number?
Darwin Gauthier, the first 340177.
Mr. Gauthier, let me explain our process to you. I'm going to read some information into the record, and then we're going to conduct a parole interview with you. And at the appropriate time, we will allow those persons who wish to have input to speak. On Zoom, on your behalf is Dr. Deborah Manuel, who is your ex-spouse, Gina Gauthier, who is your sister. They both will be speaking, and Desiree Gauthier is on Zoom observing for support, but not speaking. We also have in opposition Mr. Frederick Perrodin and Ms. Torre Perrodin, who will be speaking in opposition. After we have our hearing and after we have our discussion, you'll have an opportunity to say whatever you'd like to say to the board, and then we will vote. Do you understand our process, sir?
Yes, sir.
This is the matter of Darwin Gauthier, DOC number 340177, date of birth February the 20th of 1973. He's classified as a second felony offender. His parole eligibility date was December the 9th of 2022. He has an adjusted good time date of November the 9th of 2032, a full term date of December the 8th of 2037. He is currently serving a 35-year sentence on the charges of second-degree kidnapping and aggravated second-degree battery, having been sentenced on May the 17th of 2004. Mr. Gauthier, is that information accurate?
Yes, sir, to the best of my knowledge.
I'm sorry?
Yes, sir, to the best of my knowledge, that's accurate.
Okay. Mr. Gauthier, your case has been assigned to me, so I will begin our process of interviewing you. How old are you, Mr. Gauthier?
50 years old, sir.
50 years old. How long have you been in prison on these charges?
21, right at 21 years.
Tell me a little bit about your educational background. How far did you go in school before you came to prison?
I finished high school. I don't have any education outside of high school, but I did graduate from Parkview Christian Academy.
Are drugs or alcohol involved in your life? Did you ever use drugs or alcohol?
Yes, sir, I have, and they were involved in my life at the time. You are correct.
Let's talk about drugs first off. How old were you when you first started using drugs?
Oh, I don't know. I was a teenager, I guess. I had to be around probably 15 or so.
All right. And what kind of drugs did you start using?
Marijuana.
Did you ever progress from marijuana to anything else?
Yes, sir, I did.
What did you progress to?
I wound up years later using cocaine.
And roughly when did you start using cocaine?
Oh, I don't know. I had to be around 22 or so.
How often were you using cocaine at the age of 15? I mean, marijuana at the age of 15?
Probably monthly. I mean, I don't really know because we would, experiment with it. You know how that would go. So it wasn't a regular thing at first. That didn't care. It didn't start till later on.
When did it become a regular thing?
Oh, probably when I started dealing with depression.
Okay, and about how old were you then?
About 19 or 20.
All right. And how often were you using marijuana then when it became an issue?
When the depression became an issue, regularly, pretty much every day.
Okay. And when did you move from marijuana to cocaine or use both at the same time? When did the cocaine come into play?
I believe the cocaine came into play when I started using it. This was years later. You know what? I remember when I started using it. At first, it wasn't a everyday thing either. It was like maybe every once in a while. Cocaine never really became a real regular thing.
How often were you using cocaine?
How often?
Mhm.
Probably every 2 weeks or every other week, something like that. It just progressed into something different after a while, but at first it wasn't like that, no.
Well, did it at some point progress to where you understand and realize you were a drug addict?
That happened after my marriage, yeah. That was years later. Yes, sir.
What was years later? Recognition that you were a drug addict, or
The recognition I was a drug addict was after I came to prison and started taking these classes and looking back at my life and the actions I was doing. I was like, wow, you really were a drug addict, Gauthier. So that's when I really recognized.
well, let's talk from today back. Now that you look back, were you a drug addict back when you were 19, 22 years old, starting to use cocaine on a regular basis?
Yes, sir. When I started using on a regular basis, I became a drug addict then. Yes, sir.
Tell me, how old were you when you've been in prison now 21 years? So what were you, 30? How old were you? 29?
29, 30.
Tell me what was going on in your life at 29 years old.
Well, what was going on? I had just went through a divorce, and I had just got remarried. I was under a lot of stress, and unfortunately, I didn't deal with it well. I was using drugs and alcohol to try to manage that, and it turned out real bad.
How often were you using drugs and alcohol?
Back then, every day, every day.
So tell me about the domestic abuse battery charge. Tell me about the second degree. You were convicted of two charges, two separate charges. You were convicted of second degree kidnapping and aggravated second degree battery. Tell me what happened, what you did, how you did it, and why you did it.
Okay, well, me and my wife got in an argument. My wife at the time, we got in an argument, and I was under the influence, and I let the argument proceed and build me up into a rage, and I lost my temper and committed the battery on her. And so that's
tell me, committed battery is a legal term. Tell me factually what you did. Tell me precisely what you did to her.
Well, precisely what I did to her was, in the rage, I beat her up. I took the iron from her. I burned her with the iron, and that's why I committed the battery.
And what about the kidnapping?
Well, the kidnapping, I was charged with that, from taking her from one place to another.
Well, I understand that, but I'm married. I bring my wife to the store all the time. That's taking her from one place to the other. What did you do that required under the law? It was simple kidnapping. So tell me, this is your time to come clean with us, to tell us that you understand what it is you did. We know what you did. I've read the police reports. I know all of those things. I'm trying to figure out how honest you're going to be with us.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So tell me what the second degree kidnapping was about. It wasn't just a ride from one place to another. What did you do to her, and what did you threaten to do to her?
Oh, the kidnapping came into play from taking her from one house to the other, and the battery that was committed on her is how I got charged with the kidnapping.
So they're not two separate incidences, you're telling me? They didn't occur on two separate days? One occurred in July and one of them occurred in October of the next year, of the same year?
No, sir, I got charged with those. I got charged with that from the same incident, sir. Okay. That was both of the same incidents.
All right. You didn't have a gun. You drove her down a road and threatened to kill her. You don't remember any of that? That's not true?
No, sir. Those charges there, I was charged with something else from that, sir. The charges that we're talking about now is not that, sir.
The charges you're in prison are right now are second degree kidnapping and aggravated second degree battery.
Yes, sir.
Separate charges.
Yes, sir, from the same day. Both of those charges came from the same incident, same day.
It's not my understanding. My understanding from the police reports is that one occurred on July the 17th of 2022, and the other occurred on October the 21st of 2002. Two separate instances.
Okay, all right. Well, I know what you're talking about. Okay.
Okay, well, tell me about that.
Okay, the ones on the charges I was charged with from having the gun and she jumping out the car, you know, didn't go to trial for that. They used those charges to bump up my charges. However, they were still on the police report. But the charges I went to court for.
But tell me about what happened in July. Whether you were charged with it or not, tell me what happened.
Okay, in July, she was saying that, you know, I committed a battery on her and I had a gun. Those charges did not happen. The charges that happened is the charges that, you know, I did in October. I did that, and I'm taking responsibility for that. Yes, sir, I am.
Tell me about all of the crime. You have priors, you have lots of drugs and violence charges, 4 separate felony convictions, lots of misdemeanor convictions, and a lot of charges involving guns and violence and drugs that were dismissed. So tell me why all the violence, why all of the crime, why all of that? Is that all drug related, alcohol related?
Well, yes, sir. It was drug. It was most of it was drug related. You know, but I grew up in a type of environment in my neighborhood, you know, was you know, pretty much that's what we did. And so as a youngster, I grew up into that. And I was prone to that. But as I got older, you know, I tried to get away from it and I was doing good. I had managed to get away from it. It wasn't until I came back to Louisiana until I started getting back in trouble.
What kind of programs have you taken while you've been in prison that have helped you, that you think might be helpful for us to know and to know what effect it's had on you?
Okay, the first program I took when I came to prison was understanding what was going on with me. I realized that I had an anger problem. I realized that I needed help. And so I took anger management several different times, try to get an understanding of, you know, the tools that they use to help you deal with your anger problem. And I seen that it did help. And so I started, not only did I take the class and use it in my life, I became a peer trainer in the class to try to teach people, you know, that the gaps that's in the class that people like I have, you know, that's in prison with me, I try to help them to fill in those gaps. So I became a peer trainer in anger management. I also take character count to learn about, you know, the integrity, the things about my character, you know, the ways I need to handle myself as a man. I took mind, body, and soul to teach us how to be more balanced, you know, how to deal with things, deal with stress. I did a lot of psychotherapy. I did like 8 years of psychotherapy, you know, with a mental health specialist to try to understand what was going on with me.
What did you learn from that? What did those 8 years of psychotherapy help you with? What did you learn about yourself?
I've learned that I was a person that suffered with depression and anxiety. I did struggle. I do struggle, not did, because I still do. I do struggle with mental health issues from time to time, depending on what's going on in my life, the stresses in my life. I've also learned how to, the appropriate way of dealing with it.
Do you take any sort of medication?
Not at this moment, but I am back and forth on mental health medication. I've learned that, you know, sometimes my condition is better and I can get off the medicine. But like right now, I'm trying to get back on it because I see that I'm struggling in certain areas. And so when I see these things, I go to seek the mental help I need before these actions do wind up being something I don't want.
What sort of programs have you taken to help you deal with your drug and alcohol addiction?
I have taken recovery dynamics. I was actively involved in NA and AA. Anytime anything comes up that helps us address these issues, I file for it, get into them. I've taken a program called, what's the name? Matter of fact, let me look. Hold on a second. It's called Crimeaholics. That's the name of the program, Crimeaholics. And it deals with recidivism and, you know, things of being accountable for your actions, realizing what you did and didn't do, and how to do better.
What is your plan to stay sober if you were released?
My plan to stay sober, I stay away from drugs. I find better things to do. I didn't really have a drug problem. You know, my main problem was I had a mental health problem. Mental health problem turned into a drug problem because I didn't know. I'm dealing with the mental health issues the best way I know how.
Mr. Gauthier, let me stop you just for a second. Okay, just tell you a little bit about my background. I was a drug court judge for 14 years. Most everybody who's a drug addict has mental health issues. So it's not a one thing. It's a co-occurring thing. Your mental health issues aren't going to necessarily solve your drug addiction.
Mm-hmm.
Two things you have to deal with, both your mental health issues as well as your drug addiction. So I'm going to ask you again, how do you intend on dealing with remaining sober from drugs and alcohol?
Well, I intend to stay away from them, sir. I just plan on not using them.
Have you ever had any long-term substance abuse treatment, either inside or outside? You've had some classes, you've had some educational classes, and I understand that. Have you ever had any actual long-term substance abuse treatment?
No, sir, I haven't.
You think that that's something that would be helpful for you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, without a doubt.
Let's talk a little bit about your disciplinary record. You've had 25 write-ups since you've been there, but since 2022, you've had a contraband write-up and you've had a fighting write-up. Tell me about those.
Okay, the contraband write-up was, I was smoking, sir. That was the contraband write-up. And the fighting write-up was a situation that happened in the middle of the night. It was, I mean, something that just happened, sir. Two guys were trying to go to the restroom and there was a misunderstanding.
Through the courses that you've taken, I get the impression that you're kind of, you know, on the one hand, you blame alcohol and drugs for your problems, and then mental health problems. I haven't heard you say anything what your crime has done to the victim in this case. If you had anything in prison that helps you deal with understanding what you've done to the victim in this case and what effect that might have on her?
Okay. Yes, sir, I have. I've done a long, extensive search on myself. I've thought about what I've done to her, the you know, her family, the pain I've caused, and also taking this victim impact course, it helped me to go back and really think about the victims and what I've done to the people that I have harmed. So yes, sir, I have taken classes, and I've also thought about that extensively since I've been incarcerated.
Well, tell me what it is you've thought about. Tell me what effect you believe what you did to the victim in this case has had on her. What are your thoughts? I mean,
my thoughts is I'm very sorry for my crime, for what I committed. I think about the harm I've caused her, you know, the effect it had on her, you know, the mental anguish, you know, the what she's going through, you know, her family, the kids, you know, my family, the kids. You know, a lot of lives been affected by my actions, and I have thought about that, and it helped me to realize that I have to be more responsible for my actions and things I do, because the things we do, you know, harm people. They hurt or harm people, either way.
Gordon, what can you tell us about Mr. Gauthier?
Yes, sir, Mr. Marabella. Gauthier and I had a pretty long conversation or interview just on yesterday. We did discuss in regards to his disciplinary record. My main concern with Gauthier would actually be to receive some long-term substance abuse treatment for obvious reasons. He's been incarcerated for a long period of time. And there's a different situation now compared to what was going on when he actually was out there in society before his incarceration. He's currently actually working as a dormitory. And the dormitory where he currently live is more like what we consider to be like a trustee dormitory. He's been a dormitory for a little while, and he's doing a good job down there. So I mean, that would be my best recommendation in regards to concern for Gauthier is get some long-term substance abuse treatment.
Thank you, Warden. I appreciate your comments. Any questions?
I have one question. Sir, you were just speaking about your victims. I'm curious, you had a 1990 battery and a 1991 battery. Who were the victims in those incidents? Was it a female? First of all, was it a female?
Ma'am, ma'am, it probably was. It probably was, man. I don't remember. You said 90 and 91?
It's 11/21 of 90 and 3/18 of 91.
Yes, ma'am. I mean, I don't remember exactly who and what.
But you surmise that it probably was a female.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's what I was curious about. That's all I had, Chairman. You was in Calcasieu Parish on all of them. Did that help you remember?
You said I resided in Calcasieu at the time. Yes, ma'am.
But they don't help you remember anything, because you had said you were out of state or something. Well, maybe you would come thinking about that.
No, ma'am, I don't remember, but I really don't.
Because that was actually, the 1990 was your first battery. It's interesting you don't remember that one. That was your first arrest for battery.
My first arrest for battery? Simple battery? It was a simple battery charge?
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, that probably was a female.
All right, thank you. That's all I had, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Now we'll hear from your supporters. We'll hear from Deborah Manuel. Ms. Manuel.
Hi, I had sent a letter on support on behalf of Darwin, and when I registered this morning, I was advised to just read the letter because the board had not had an opportunity to see it. They received it this morning.
Okay.
Okay, so my name is Dr. Deborah Manuel, and I'm writing to express my sincere support for the parole consideration of Darwin Gauthier, who is currently incarcerated at Allen Correctional Center. I understand that the board has the challenging responsibility of determining whether an individual is ready to reintegrate into society, and I genuinely believe that Darwin has made significant strides, positive life changes in rehabilitation. I have personally known Darwin since we were in high school, 1988, at which time we became sweethearts and later married in 1992. I am Darwin's first wife, and of our union, we have two beautiful children, Desiree, who is now 31, Darwin Jr., who is now 27, and they both have children of their own. After Darwin and I divorced in around early 2000, we remained connected as co-parents as well as friends. During Darwin's incarceration, the kids and I made the monthly I-10 East trek for Saturday and Sunday special visits from Houston, Texas to Kinder, Louisiana. I admit the first couple of years were challenging for the children to adjust to their father's incarceration, crying on the way back home, handling critical crisis over the telephone, and for me, silently resenting him for leaving me to be mother and father. But throughout his incarceration, we were able to adjust and accept the circumstances for what they were. And we prayed that one day there would be a possibility to reunite, especially for the children. Over the years, every opportunity I had to express to Darwin the challenges of an absent parent and how the kids were expressing it through their academics, socially, and most importantly, behaviorally, I did. For me, I joined a prison ministry group through my church, volunteering 4 years at the Carol S. Vance Maximum Security Prison in Richmond, Texas, through the Sycamore Tree program. Being able to share my children's experience with others in his situation helped me tremendously with overcoming my resentment towards Darwin. The Sycamore Tree program, it's a course that runs in the prison 8 weeks and divided into 8 sessions with 2 hours each session. During the course, the group of prisoners are challenged to consider, together with unrelated victims of crime, the impact their crimes have had on their victims in society. I realized that no matter how hard I wanted Darwin to feel our pain of his absence, he had to acknowledge and take responsibility for himself, as he later did. My assessment of his journey is not only of a personal nature, but as a professional. I am a human resource and leadership executive, and I have witnessed Darwin's transformation. I have witnessed his deep remorse for his past actions, not only through our visits and conversations, but also through the opportunity that he has to complete educational programs that was offered to him. Like as he mentioned, anger management, living in balance, mind, body, and soul, nurturing father, drug education, and his list goes on. I believe he has demonstrated a genuine commitment to personal growth and self-development. And these programs have not only enhanced his knowledge and skills, but also has fostered a sense of responsibility and a desire to give back to the community, I believe. Darwin has showed exceptional dedication to personal development by actively engaging in counseling, and as he mentioned, leading a group as a facilitator. Through these interventions, he's gained valuable insights into the root cause of his past behaviors and has worked diligently to address and overcome them. It is evident that he has embraced a transformative journey and is genuinely committed to leading a law-abiding and productive life upon release. Additionally, I wanted to highlight a strong support system with family and friends that Darwin has that awaits upon his release. While I now live in California, I do have a home in Houston where Darwin is welcome to reside until he becomes self-sufficient. My current fiance is a reentry advocate here in California that is also seeking out resources in the Texas area to support Darwin upon his release. These resources encompass employment, medical, housing, spiritual wellness, and even volunteering. I believe that granting parole to Darwin would not only be an opportunity for his redemption, but also a chance to contribute positively to society. With his newfound knowledge, skills, and deep personal growth, he is determined to make amends and give back. I prayerfully request that you consider Darwin's application for parole with utmost care and fairness. Thank you for your consideration, and I trust the board's wisdom and judgment as you carefully evaluate Darwin's readiness for parole. And if you should require any additional information, have any questions or comments, please do not hesitate reaching out to me. And I wish you all the best in your important work.
Ma'am, there are a couple of questions. I think Mr. Freeman has a question.
Yes, ma'am. In Houston, who would he be living with?
Actually, my son is there.
Okay,
So
because
his son as well, Darwin Jr.
because they wouldn't accept him if he didn't have family there.
Yes.
And they accept him with a nephew there.
With his son.
Have to take through compact. Okay. So.
Thank you. Now we hear from Miss Gina Gauthier, your sister, Miss Gauthier. You're on mute, ma'am.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am, we can.
Thank you for your
Your
consideration.
face is always, I'll move it. There you go. There you go. Now we
Okay.
can see it.
Thank you to each of you for your consideration and this opportunity to speak on behalf of my baby brother. Darwin is ready to return to society and be a productive contribution, bringing his gifts and leadership as he has applied himself within the programs offered there at Allen Correctional Institute. He has expressed to me on numerous times and time again of his repentant heart and his recognition of what he has done to the women in his life. He has been able to express that there under the pressure he feels. But what I know is that he has a newfound knowledge of repentance, skills, and deep personal growth. He has tremendous family support. And I would say most importantly, that I feel he has been spiritually rehabilitated with a sense of purpose for his life. He's been refocused, he's repentant, He's remorseful and regretful for his lack of discipline and rebellion based on a lack of leadership in his home life as a young kid and a presently absent father, not giving any of that responsibility, but acknowledging what his background was. He's renewed with a renewed sense of repentance. I know personally through personal Bible study, he has a new perspective. He's been accountable for spiritual practice in his life, praying regularly, meditating, really trying to hone in on the meaning and purpose of his life. So he's recommitted to living a reproductive, purposeful life, I should say, with a spiritual direction that I believe will sustain him because now he has a sense of direction and purpose. So, on behalf of his family, I want to thank you for your consideration of his release back into society with his family. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll hear from the opposition. We'll hear from Mr. Frederick Paradin. Mr. Paradin. Paradin, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. If you'll introduce yourself and tell us what you'd like us to know.
I feel that that he should do his term that he was sentenced to. And his answering and responses, I still see where he still want to try to be in control. His tone of how he was responding, and I felt that he was getting a little irritated just by trying to think ahead of you and trying to tell you what he felt the board needed to hear from him. And the fact that you had to ask him about how he felt or what thoughts he had about what he had done to the victim, to my daughter, and the hurt and pain that we suffered and still do. So I just don't see that he's ready when he's trying to be so exact or trying to hold you exact or the board and staff on your questioning when you just want honest, direct answers and with hopefully some remorse and empathy from him. But he was in his answering trying to stand firm and control the questioning and trying to dictate on what and when the times and to try to seem like you were asking questions of different things that wasn't proper at the time. There's things that he wasn't prepared and had his mind set up to answer. And I appreciate you with all the board with all the direct questions and your experience and knowledge that your line of questioning was good, and he had every opportunity to express his feelings about what he'd done and the cause and effects of his actions and being irresponsible as he was. I still see manipulation in him. I still see him wanting to be in control. And in today's time, it's a different time than it was years ago. There were better opportunities to me, but with the legalization of a lot of marijuana and possession of marijuana has gotten more lax on the laws. I think the opportunity for a person to fall back down that same trail is easier now, and it's just the inflation, the job situations out there. It's a little bit tougher time now, and the challenges for him will be much greater with the drugs, trying to stay away from it because it's going to be more people will be around him smoking it because it's more legal. The laws are lax on marijuana, and it may start right. I can't say he will or he won't, but there's a greater opportunity to fall back in the same rut. And I just don't know if anyone can be that strong. But just hearing what he had to say in his responses this morning, it just brought me back to when it all happened, and I don't see a different person. I understand. I heard with the supporters of people speaking in his support, and most of it They were reading, it was scripted, and their cause and effect are not the same as mine are, because we were affected. My daughter was terribly affected. She still have issues and problems. I don't know if she left the Zoom. Is she going to be speaker? She's going to come back and say
Thank
her
you,
part,
Mayor.
but
I don't know. Do we have her on?
You know, the victim, the victim.
The victim.
His story.
But so that's, I prefer him doing his full term. That's what I was looking forward to, and I'm not going to change on that. And because
Thank you.
this morning, even when,
Thank you, sir.
thank you.
Ms. Tori Paradin on there?
Yes, I am. Sorry about that. My computer died, wasn't plugged in.
Thank you, Ms. Paradin. If you'll introduce yourself and tell us what you'd like us to know.
I'm Tori Paradin. I am the victim in this case. Basically, Mr. Gauthier still is not facing the facts of what happened. He's still denying the truth. So what happened is, I've never changed the stories. It is what it is. But he has not accepted the fact, and he's still being untruthful about it. So that's basically all I have to say. I thought I would at least hear some type of remorse from him or anything, but for him to flat out deny what happened again, it shows me that he doesn't really fully understand or have accepted what he's done. So how can you recover from something that you never did? Or how can you move forward if you have never accepted the fact of what you did? That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Mr. Gauthier, is there anything you'd like to say before the panel votes?
Yes, sir. I want her to know that I am sorry and I am remorseful. I want you to know that I really am.
Speak to us. Speak to us, Mr. Gauthier.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I want the victim to know that I am very sorry and I am remorseful for my actions. I do want you to know that. I do want the board to know that as well. I do feel like I'm ready for society. I understand a lot now about myself, about my actions. I've learned what I need to do in certain situations when I feel myself in situations where I'm gonna lose control or something like that. I've learned about managing my mental health and dealing with mental health specialists. So I feel like I have made progress and that I am ready for society.
Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate your comments. Panel ready to vote? Okay, all right. Mr. Gauthier,
Sorry.
I think you've accomplished some things while you've been in prison. I think it's very good that you've addressed some of your mental health issues. It sounds like you've been in treatment or at least getting some benefits for quite some time. I don't think you've been totally honest with us about what you did. You may not remember what you did. I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes we have people that come on here that really don't recall. They believe things that happened their way and they're just stuck with that. I don't know if that's the case with you or not, but I'm very concerned. I think you're moving in the right direction. I don't think you're there yet. I think you need a lot more work on your substance abuse. I mean, when you say, well, I'm just not going to do drugs anymore because mental health was my issue and I've got that resolved. I mean, I know, and I don't know that you know that, and that's the problem. I think you need to understand that that's not the solution. There's a lot more issues than what you're willing to deal with. I don't think that you've been totally honest with us today. I don't know that you've been totally honest with yourself. So I think you need a lot more work based upon your history of violence, the effect that you've had on the victim. While she talked to us a little bit today, she did submit a lot of information to us, which shows all of the medical treatment she had, the emotional issues she had, the burn care that she had to go through, the physical scarring that she's had. So we have all of that information in the record. You have law enforcement opposition against you. You have disciplinary issues. You have a moderate risk of reoffending. You have moderate needs, very high on substance abuse. And your overall prison record indicates fair, which is not often seen. Usually it's good, but this one indicates fair. So based upon all of those things, I think you need some long-term substance abuse treatment within the Department of Corrections. And I think that you need to go quite a bit longer without any sort of disciplinary issues. You had 2 write-ups in 2022, one for contraband and one for fighting violence again. So my vote would be to deny. So I'm only one vote. We'll see what the rest of the panel does. So Ms. Wise.
Thank you, Chairman. To the victims in this family, I just appreciate y'all's participation today. I know this was hard. I know it was challenging. And I thank you for showing up. And even for your supporters, I appreciate them as well for participating. There's hope for you. There's a lot of hope for you. But for me, you were found guilty by a jury. I concur with my colleague. My vote is denied. The nature of the offense, the impact on the victim. You have victims you don't even remember. You don't even remember their names that you've battered. And today you lack remorse to me. You were very misgiving about what you've done, as if it was a dish towel. It wasn't a human being, somebody's daughter. And that was concerning for me. My vote is denied, and I wish you well.
Thank you, Ms. Wise.
I concur for the same reason.
Mr. Gauthier, I hope that you continue to progress in prison. You have 3 votes to deny. Your parole has been denied today. Good luck to you, sir.
All right, thank you guys. Y'all have a good day.